Where shall we wander off in our collective search for the kind of wisdom and insight that makes today a greater day and makes our latter days greater than our former days? That's a good question. Well, let's see. St. Augustine, uh, one of the original fathers of mystical religion back in the day, I'm not sure when he lived, 300, something like that. But there seems to be this modern notion amongst modern, cat, you got to stop making so much noise, please. There seems to be this modern notion amongst modern thinkers that some of these people that are referred to from hundreds of years ago are um, largely to be discounted or dismissed because they lived a long time ago. Um, I would say amongst a certain larger subset of modern philosophers, thinkers, scientists, cosmologists, that uh, these thinkers from the past were subject to, well, they were, Bronze Age thinkers, and they weren't really tapped into the enormous amalgam of intelligence that we have at our fingertips today. So while we certainly have record of what they thought, it's largely, it's just largely inaccurate, and it would be better the sooner we could dismiss it. Now, we'll go back to St. Augustine. He has a famous quote. He says, God, you made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they repose in thee. Our hearts are restless until they repose in thee. So maybe that was said 1600 years ago, plus or minus. But of course, that's to be discounted because it's some old guy with old thinking. Now, let's move forward to the 17th century. Let's visit our friend Blaise Pascal, an astonishing Renaissance man, an astonishing genius, an incredibly precocious child who was coming up with scientific discoveries that are still utilized today. And somewhere around the age of 23 or 24, he also underwent a staggering spiritual awakening in his life, and he called it his night of fire. But whatever that is, he was touched by a deep spiritual insight or awakening, and he began to write the rest of his life. Continued to be an amazing scientist, but he also became quite prolific in spiritual writing. And what's the one of the great ideas that he came up with? He came up with this thought. Have you heard this one before? Of course, he said it in French, and I can't say it in French, but he called it the God-size whole. He coined the phrase, the God-size whole. But now, this is 300 or 400 years ago, and something like that. And now he's to be dismissed, of course, because he just wasn't aware of quantum theory and the theory of evolution. And so, just one more of these somewhat demented, corrupted minds from the past. And let's just sanitize our thinking from the people who came before us. Now, I strenuously object to that. I think we certainly have science today, and it gives us astonishing capacity in the material world to make things like cell phones and things that make us so comfortable and to give us understanding of how things work. And yet, when you really think about what the most effective thinking is, and this will well be a topic for the week, did thinkers from the past, were they really diminished in their intellectual capacity and firepower, or were they really tapped into what true genius is? And I'm going to suggest what I think true genius is for any being who lived 10,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 300 years ago, today, or 80,000 years in the future. True, intelligent, thoughtful, conceptual genius is to know who we are and where we fit into the scheme of things, what the universe is, and what our source is, and the role that we play. I think that is true genius. And I think any thinker from the past, the present, or the future that really examines that is really tapping in and seeking what true wisdom is. So the topic this week is the God-sized whole, and our hearts are restless until they repose in thee. And by this I mean, because we're spiritual beings and we have this divine spark, that we're all of us, because we're mortal, we're seeking finite pleasures. And sooner or later we realize no finite pleasure of any sort ever really gets at this God-sized whole. And yet, because we're mortal and we're silly and we're foolish and we don't know any better, we're always trying to find something finite to fill in this God-sized hole, and it never fills in. Now, am I counseling complete worldly abstinence and becoming an ascetic and moving to the Himalayas and renouncing everything? No, I'm just saying that true wisdom is to realize that what we seek first is the source of all finite. And when we do that, we actually begin to fill in this God-sized hole, and we find true repose. We find true contentment and satisfaction. But of course, we're not going to do that consistently. And so yesterday, I used food to try to fill in my finite. I bought some food bars that looked really yummy. And so, I bought a case because then that would probably last me a month. I probably ate 3/4 of the case. And now today I have a hangover from trying to fill my God-sized hole with food. And so, whoops. So, in what way do you have a God-sized hole, and are you trying to fill it with the finite? That will be the topic this week. May we seek the thing that really fills in that, and what an adventure this shall be. And if you need an extra food bar, please come over and get the rest. I'll see you guys tomorrow.